Hello and welcome to the KDOME session on Indra's Net Coalition. My two guests who I'm going to be interviewing on this wonderful effort are Dr. Phil Wolfson, the creator of the new psychotherapy modality based on the use of medicine, ketamine medicine specifically, and ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, which is referred to as CAP. Our second guest, the co-founder of Indra's Net, is Sunny Strasburg, who is a psychotherapist, family therapist, couple therapy as well, right? Did I get that right, Sunny? And the founder of Indra's Net with Phil. Both of them are going to share the vision for the coalition, the movement they're trying to create, and we're going to talk a bit about how this can potentially move the needle on helping groups of people heal through trauma. So with that, Phil, I'll ask you the first question. Please tell us about Indra's Net. Tell us about the coalition and the inspiration behind the name.
Well, Indra's Net's a very new thing. We just put it together really in the last month and a half to 2 months. And the real inspiration is the kind of awful trauma that we're living through, not just from leadership, but from COVID-19, from Black Lives Matter and racism, from the environmental collapse that's going on, and the awful things that are occurring to people in great suffering all over the world. And we've been trying to address that through using a new modality, as you referred to it, ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. But we're limited in our ability to provide that medicine as the only legal psychedelic psychotherapy available. We're limited because it's not available everywhere, and we don't have enough people trained in its use. It's a wonderful medicine and experience to work with trauma, but it's not enough. And I have I've been doing Eastern stuff forever, and I knew of Indra's Net as a concept a few decades ago, really. And I thought, it's really a very powerful idea. And the idea is straightforward. It's that each of us is a jewel. Both of you are jewels. Even me, I'm a jewel. And we're all jewels that are connected. And our light is coming from inside and reflecting inside and reflecting outside. So we're all a net of jewels in various states of illumination. And some jewels are pretty dim and they need a lot of help. And then a lot of jewels are very bright and they just need to be connected to help each other, to illuminate each other. And some jewels, they're kind of flickering. And we need to help the flickering grow into divine light that illuminates our connection with each other. So Indra's Net is about a vast connection of all beings, all things in the world, and that we're each a jewel in that web. And so we decided that that was a great name to try and deal with the kind of suffering that's going on, because connection, sharing, love, and expression in groups that are able to support each other and create a consciousness that's progressive and helpful and anti-prejudice and loving and kind, that was the kind of thing we thought we could bring into the world. The other and last part of the inspiration was that people like Sunny and myself are traumatologists. That is, we long ago began to revive the notion that the real cause of suffering, the predominant cause of mental illness, the predominant cause of depression, of course of trauma itself and its aftermath, was suffering, was that people are traumatized at home, traumatized in the world, traumatized in war, traumatized by illness, traumatized by the cures for illness that are so difficult, that we saw that this is really central in our lives, and that we, as people all over the world trying to deal with trauma, and people are dealing with trauma all over the world and trying to help each other with trauma, that if we could be inspirational and create a program through our nonprofit to arouse a kind of sharing and to grow that sharing, that we would be doing something that we could really feel good about, stand behind, and feel as a progressive work of consciousness.
Thank you, Phil, for sharing the vision. Sunny, can you walk us through what the different projects look like for us in this healing movement? Can you share a little bit about the ideas and what the coalition will be doing?
Yes, and I love, you know, Phil, you painted the vision so beautifully, and I think that really inspires us for our first project, which is the sharing groups. So the idea behind the sharing groups is to be an antithesis to all the social isolation that's happening right now with COVID-19. And not only COVID-19, I think that is kind of the apex of what's happening in the world right now, but we have so much going on with ecological collapse and socioeconomic collapse and racial injustice. And all of these things, as Phil said, are traumatizing people in the world. And so the sharing groups are the antithesis of this. This is a way for people to connect. Something that's been really interesting about COVID-19 is that we've all moved toward platforms just like this, like Zoom, where we're connecting with people and we don't need to be in the same area, in the same space. And so Phil and I got talking about, okay, how can we be an antithesis to the social isolation that's going on? And we came up with this idea of the sharing groups. So the sharing group is a group of people, may not be local to each other, but they're organized by theme. And there are 6 to 8 participants, and they meet once a week at the same time every week for 6 weeks. And they're facilitated by 2 co-facilitators. And it's a 90-minute session where we share what's going on for us, where we are talking about our struggles and our isolation and what's coming up for us, and having this witnessing within the group. So the groups aren't therapy per se. They may not be led by a psychologist or a therapist, but they are therapeutic in the sharing, in the connection with other people. And so this idea that we had with these sharing groups is to have these all over the world. And I have this vision of them being as ubiquitous as the Alcoholics Anonymous groups, where wherever you are, you can connect to a sharing group, and it's free for the participants, and you can hook into this group of friends and not feel so socially isolated anymore. And so that's our first initial project, is to really get these out. And we have 3 pilot groups that are going to be launched in the next month. And we're really gonna, see what works and how we can really make this a beautiful offering. And then from that, we'll create training programs and invite facilitators to join us. And then the facilitators will get their sharing groups going. And we have 3 groups that are starting all in different parts of the world. And we will see what the needs are as we grow. And so the groups are our initial project. I'm really, really excited about that. And as Phil said, we are, as psychedelic assisted psychotherapists, we are traumatologists, and we felt like this was a way to get help out to people quickly. And so remember, these groups are free to the participants, and so they're very, very accessible to anyone.
Sunny, 2 questions. Can you give us examples of some of the themes potentially that a sharing group can deep dive into?
Yeah, so the themes can really be anything, as it relates to trauma. But our 3 pilot groups we're doing a COVID-19 group for healthcare workers that are burned out from the COVID-19 epidemic. Another group is for racial injustice, and so focusing on things like Black Lives Matter. And then our 3rd pilot group is a COVID-19 group, people traumatized by COVID-19 in Spain. Spain has been decimated by COVID-19, so there's a great need there. So those are our 3 initial groups, but really we could be talking about anything. We could be talking about people who have lost their jobs from COVID-19. We could be talking about, the social isolation and depression that happens, or parents that are incredibly stressed because their kids aren't going to school every day and they want to connect with other parents. And so we really want to open this up to any kind of suffering and make it accessible to whatever the themes are. But these groups are organized by theme.
Can you tell us a little bit about the structure? How many participants and how can people get involved? How many participants in a sharing circle?
So we're looking at 6.
We're talking of 6 to 10, ideally 8. The structure really is a facilitated experiential structure. So it's got a uniformity to it. It has a method. It begins with meditation. It ends with meditation. It has facilitators who help the group move and coalesce around themes and around supporting each other. It has rules for behavior so that, people are open to expressing themselves fully, but also have certain boundaries, like not interrupting, like not taking over, like not judging. And so there's a kind of learning to how to talk to each other, which we're all needing to do, including myself. And so there's a format that's reproducible, translatable, and go to other languages, can be modified for particular cultural aspects of it. So it's not just laissez-faire. It is a formality that has been worked out, and we're working it out further to perfect its ability to be used in a variety of situations. It's a method.
Mhm. Phil, can you share a little bit about if someone wants to volunteer to be a facilitator, and if someone actually is in need and would like to participate in a sharing group, how can people get involved?
But maybe Sonny could answer that better than me.
We have a beautiful website that has just been created, and there's a tab on the website. So the website address is indrasnetcoalition.org, and I'll put it on the end of the interview so we can be sure that you have the address. And then people go to the tab called Get Involved. And on that tab, on that page, there are drop-down menus, and you can sign up for all kinds of things. You can sign up to be a facilitator, and you submit a form to be a facilitator, or you can submit a form to be a participant in a sharing group, or a donation, or get involved in some of the working groups or the committee groups. So we have all kinds of ways to get involved, and you can fill out a variety of forms on the website to let us know who you are, and let us meet you and figure out how we can build an alliance with you.
I would just add that we are paying facilitators. So we're in the process of raising funds by donation. And as Sonny has already said, participants are there for free. But we are trying to do something that people really haven't done before, which is that if you're a facilitator in Kenya, or you're a facilitator in the Ukraine or in New York City, you're going to be paid the same amount. So we're not trying to look at who has more value, who can we get it for less from. We're really trying to create a democratic, really in practice structure, and we're vetting people. It's not like anyone and everyone can just sign up and take on the role and get some money and do it that way. We're really looking, and we'll have committees to oversight who can come in, and we are going to be doing a little bit of before and after, so we see how the groups really work. Are we effective? Are we ineffective? What can we do better? What's happened? And we have a consultation group so that if something occurs in a group that's difficult for a facilitator and they want to really bond and go over what the problem is and how to solve it, that's available. So it's a really functional entity that's meant to handle human conflict as it may occur, and the possibilities of human connection as we hope that will occur. Did I leave anything out there, Sonny?
Well, I just wanted to add, and I would really like you to speak a little bit to this, but I feel like so much of this beautiful unfolding of Indra's Net is about, the ideals in the 1960s, this call to duty, this pro-social collaboration and cooperation. I feel like Phil and I are really focused on creating this to be, a place that feels safe and a place of connection and collaboration and hope and wonder, instead of, this really rigid hierarchical structure. And I think that the psychedelic assisted therapy, that ethos is infused in this whole thing too, that we're really promoting the sovereignty of our own minds and what it means to be connected through love and sharing and deep witnessing. And I would love, Phil, for you to offer more, because you're such an expert on the 1960s and and connecting in the call to duty. But
I don't know. I'm not sure I can do better than what you just said, other than to say the spirit is a spirit of liberation and community and coming together and finding ways to cooperate and collaborate. After all is said and done, we've had experiences of, capitalist formations that are destroying the world. We've had an experience of so-called socialist formations that are totalitarian. None of that works. What really works is the most difficult thing of all, which is finding ways to cooperate. And we're not great at cooperating. We fight with each other. We argue with each other. We seek therapy for everything under the sun around relationship. We're not really that good at it, but we need to get better at it. And really, though we're not that good at it, that's our way forward. Our way forward is to learn how to be with each other. And even though there'll be schisms and problems and all the rest, the survival of the kind of feeling of being together and working together and growing together and being for each other, larger than our individual egos. I mean, our ketamine work is really about ego dissolution, about connection, about getting out of our own way, about getting out of prejudice's way, about really seeing into ourselves and seeing into others and valuing each other in the myriad ways in which we are different and need to be valued. So that's the spiritual aspect of it.
Phil, can you tell us a little bit how psychedelic assisted therapy fits into the vision?
Well, it's not direct. It fits into the vision because of the liberating nature of psychedelic psychotherapy and the ability to really expand consciousness and to get out of our own way and to have experiences that enlarge us and make us feel more connected and create bridges between us and bridges internally so that we're not so stuck in thinking we're just one thing, that we're fused in an intrinsic being way as, oh, I'm a depressed person. I'm not a depressed person. I'm a person who has aspects of me that are hard to deal with, that are sad or that are slowed or that are, in despair or that are traumatized. So we're trying to get away from that kind of categorization and into a humanization that really speaks from the psychedelic perspective to the deep worlds that open up within psychedelics and that in an integration kind of manner are put together better inside us as our values open up for exploration, as our sense of where we hurt and where we've been hurt is open for rectification. So much of where we suffer is a sense of injustice. It can go all the way back to, parenting. It can go back to molestation. It can go back to racial injustice. It can go back to, war, terror, and horror, all kinds of things. And so much inside of us longs to be finding a way to rectify that, to eliminate the injustice in our souls so that we're not coming as victims and we're not coming as people exploiting others, but we're coming from a sense of, I know what injustice is about. I've lived with injustice. I've been hurt by injustice, and I don't want to commit it further. And I don't want to live with a perspective of how I'm going to commit that injustice.
Sunny, besides the sharing groups, what else do you all have planned? What else is Indra's Net going to be involved in?
I think that as Phil was talking about psychedelic assisted therapy, I think that that's also a focus of ours eventually, that, both of us come from a psychedelic assisted therapy background, and we're building coalitions with other partners that offer different kinds of trauma therapy. Psychedelics aren't available all over. Ketamine is the only legal psychedelic right now in the United States, but where it's available, if let's say people join the sharing groups and then they feel like they need more support or more in-depth trauma support, we want to have a network of facilitators and practitioners in, ketamine assisted psychotherapy, for example. But where in places where that's not available, there are certain countries where ketamine isn't available, then we'll refer people to, therapists that do EMDR or breath work. And so, we have this broad scope of what is effective for treating trauma. I love Bessel van der Kolk's idea of treating trauma. It's like there are all these different tools that we have and what's the best tool that fits with what the person needs. So part of our vision is really connecting with other practitioners that have different ways of help to help heal trauma. I think that we really feel like psychedelics are a really potent way to help treat trauma. And so that's really a focus. But that's another part of our vision, is building coalition partners with different people across the world.
Well,
so
and
that we can,
Indra's Net is part of the Ketamine Research Foundation. So it's an outreach program from within the exploration of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy in all the ways we're looking at it. But we've trained 310 people across the country and Canada, but not everyone started a practice. That's not enough people to really delve into and handle the level of trauma that's occurring. So knowing that, we're continuing to develop our programs, we're continuing to do our research, but we're also expanding because we know this is a critical juncture in world history. I'm 76. I've been through the threat of the bomb, et cetera, et cetera. This, I think, is the worst time I've ever lived through, bar none. And the prospect for my son, children, little ones who are being born, to live in a world of peace and quality of air and quality of water and quality of heat even. It's so difficult to imagine that there isn't so much ahead of us. And at least we should learn how to get along together so we can do something about the ruination that we've already created and try and at least bring it to a conclusion. It's going to get worse for a while, no matter what, but at least we could stop trying to make it worse, which we haven't done. So we're hoping that this is a fusion of that sense of environmental and social justice. And it comes out of this foundation, this little foundation we're building, and that's our plug. Donate to the Ketamine Research Foundation, donate to Indra's Net Coalition, help us out. And
Yeah, how are you all funded?
by people like you, me, and her. We fund by donations. We don't have governmental money. We fund by the goodwill of people and their sense that this is worthwhile and they want to be part of it. So we're community building within our own structure. We're not, top-down leadership, though I've assumed a leadership role. Many people are coming into that fully, like Sunny and you, into making this happen. So it's a broad community effort getting broader.
I'm going to remind everyone, if you want to make a donation or to contribute or get involved, visit indrasnetcoalition.org. And Phil and Sunny, is there anything else you'd like to share?
I would like to share our little website picture. We're very proud of it. We think we did a good job. Sunny's a great artist. And if you could put it up for a second, and it'll also give the info.
sorry, I don't have it handy, but I can put it into the.
Okay, well, we'll show it during the conference. This wonderful conference we're doing is sponsored by Ketamine Research Foundation. You're going to see a lot of us, so we'll show it. We're going to be showing it again. And thank you so much, Gina, for doing this.
Sure. Thanks for chatting. And everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of the K-Dome programming. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you in a sharing group soon.
Thank you so much, Gina. I appreciate it. And